Good morning, friends, and welcome to today's Cichlids and Coffee live stream. Hope you're having a cup of your favorite beverage wherever you are. I will be your host today. Let's see who we have in house here. Looks like we're getting a good group going here. Hey, Adam. First on the chat. Very good. Good to see you, Adam. Paul's in the house as well. And Angelo. Hey, Angelo. A break in the heat. Well, we're going to be up in the 90s, I think, today. So we're not going to get much of a break here in Nashville. And, of course, it's a humid 90, so feels like 110. So I don't mind. I stay indoors, and I do get out a little bit. I do have a bicycle ride scheduled for tomorrow, so I'm hoping that I won't melt during the ride. I'll take lots of water. Hey, Kimberly Frankel in the house, and looks like Michael is here. Hey, Whip. Good to see you there, buddy. I saw one of your recent posts, Whip, and I was dismayed. I'm sorry you had that incident in your fish room. For those of you who don't know, check out Whip's channel, Whip's World, on YouTube, and Whip is one of my wonderful moderators here who helps to keep things family friendly. So thank you for your help, Whip. And Dustin in the house. Miguel, good afternoon from New York City. I'm sure it can be a little hot there. Hey, Jerry, good to see you, my friend. JP in the house. Hello to you. Wally's Freshwater Aquatics is here. And Brian Park, Outside in Aquatics. That's a cool name. And thank you for lurking. I don't mind lurkers. Lurkers are welcomed at this channel. Thank you for joining in on the chat. I appreciate it. Hey, Kendall. Kendall's in the house. Uncle Smiley's Aquariums. I just love these names. Uncle Smiley's Aquariums. Hey, Cichlid Stage in the house. Do you like the t-shirt? Yeah. This is from Cichlid Stage. And check out Cichlid Stage. They did an interview on me, and I had some fun answering some questions for them. Ex-colleague Kev in the house. Hey, buddy. Hope you're feeling well. And hey, Tracy Ballard in here. It's hot in Texas. Yes, it is. Hey, William Dreyer and Z-Zip. And all right, we got a great crowd of fish keepers. Like I talk about the live stream, whenever I talk about it at the end of a video, I always say, join me and a great group of fish keepers. And it's true. You guys are just a great, you guys and gals are just a great group of fish keepers that are all about the fish. Hey, JT Cooper in the house. Pets Corner. Well, that's a cool name. Haven't seen that before. Pets Corner. Are you new to the live stream, Pets Corner? Have I just not seen that name before? Kenneth D. Pleasant greetings, Mr. Ben and everyone here. Hope you and your families are doing well. Wishing you and your families peace, love, light, blessings, and health. Same back to you, Kenneth. Thank you so much for that. I will share with you something, just a full disclosure. We did finally lose Lucy this yesterday, actually. We took her to the vet and had the sad duty of taking her out of her discomfort and misery. She was a 16-year-old beagle, lived a great life, and now it's Jack and me. So I have my beagle Jack, who is taking it. I was watching him closely because beagles do get they do go into a little bit of a depression when they lose a buddy, but Jack seems to be doing pretty good. So I'll keep an eye on him. And I took him on a long walk last night, and So there you have it. So Lucy has left the building. GP, quick question for the more advanced fish keepers. Has anyone been able to achieve a full cycle in their setups? If you, GP, if you Google or if you look on YouTube, I think Aquarium Adventures is the name of the channel. There's one fellow in the UK. I know I came across his channel, and he was using a tremendous amount of biohome in a sump with cichlids, and he was able to get his nitrates down to just about zero, and he was still doing water changes, of course. I mean, for minerals and hormone reduction and water clarity and all that good stuff. But I think he did, and I think if you just do a search under full cycle or zero nitrates or something like that, you'll come across a lot of videos, and some of them are going to say I achieved it, and some of them are going to say it's all myth and sales hype, right? So I don't think I've had the pleasure of meeting the owner of Biohome and or interacting with him directly, and I haven't. I don't think that he would BS anybody about results that he's seen or that he's getting, and so. But that being said, depending on the kind of fish you have, like let's say you have a lightly stocked 55-gallon heavily planted aquarium, you could put a couple, maybe a few quarts of biohome. You're going to be fine. You're going to probably be around zero nitrates. You get a heavily stocked African cichlid tank with no plants, and you're going to need $300, $400 of biohome, and maybe not. You'll get a full cycle, but we'll see. I always have kind of my antenna up to see what's going on in that area, but at the end of the day, I mean, we all still do our water changes, and maybe an African cichlid tank with a lot of biohome and in a sump, and then like a refugium or a plant, just a lot of, like a large sump where you could have a section that has a lot of, like a ton of hornwort growing in it, right? Like just a mountain of hornwort, and between those two, you probably could get there. Then you'll run into the problem of not enough nitrates for the plants, because and I've run into people who have heavily planted aquariums who have the opposite problem. They're saying, hey, I need nitrates. I'm too low on my nitrates. Too low on their ammonia, right? Because plants prefer ammonia as a food source, right? So as a nutrient, so they're too low in their ammonia. And hey, Ben, what do you recommend for increasing my ammonia, for increasing my nitrites, so that my plants will do better? And of course, now you're getting into water additives and adding nitrogen, liquid nitrogen, things like that to the aquarium to help boost that. But anyway, a lot of moving parts. GP likes Biohome. I had great results with Biohome. And that's actually going to be one of the topics today. In today's topic on things I've changed my mind on. There's I got great results with Biohome. I got great results with Marine Pure. I'm getting good results now with the Sarah Saponics, and also is that pronouncing it right? Ciporax, Sarah Ciporax, Matrix, Chem Matrix. I've gotten great results with all of those things, and in today's topic, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So, and thank you for that Pets Corner. And it's a little different. When you lose a dog, it's you know, you spend 15 years together, and they become part of the family, and it's certainly different from, I mean, it's hard when you lose a big fish, you know, you lose a fish, but a dog, I think, is, you know, it's a level up from there, and for sure. So, all right, so let's, what do you say we make this, let's go ahead and make it official here, and you know how I do that. Let's go. All right, there you go. We are officially started. So let's see who else has jumped in here. It looks like we have a hot discussion. Hey, Joe. Did I say hi to you, Joe Etter? And let's see here. We have a hot discussion here all about nitrates, or full cycles rather. Homer the Clown Trigger in the house. Hey there to you, my friend. So today's topic is one that I've been giving some thought about recently in light of what's been going on in the fish room and stuff I run across. I run across here on YouTube, and as you know, the things that inspire me for topics are your comments, things going on in the fish room, and other YouTubers out there posting comments and information. And recently, I was just thinking about, wow, you know, over the last 10 years, 5 years in particular, I've sort of changed my opinion about things, and I'll share those with you, and then we can open it up to discussion to see what you think. And before I get into that, I forget this from time to time, and it's important because I've got to kind of keep the wheels turning here. I want to just give a quick shout out to a channel sponsor, and that is Cunningham Tropicals, who has helped me out with some of the beautiful fish you see behind me, and some fish that you don't see, like those beautiful rainbow Congos. I mean, those beautiful blue Congos that I'm looking at from here. There's one right up against the glass, and boy, is he a handsome fellow. So a big shout out to Cunningham Tropicals. Josh is the real deal. He is legit. You can use ben.o.15 for 15% off on fish, and ben.o.10 for 10% off on dry goods. Do check him out. And also, if you would like to support the channel, you can become part of the Garage Gang, the Patreon gang here, and here are some of them. It starts for as little as $3 a month. The information is under the video. There's some links, and those of you who have asterisks next to your name are going the extra mile in your monthly participation. But you can do it for as little as $3 a month. I do post some content and updates to Patreon that I don't share with the general public. So being a little bit of a behind-the-scenes insight, and there's something I published called Behind the Camera. Hold on one second. All right. Yeah, there's something I published called Behind the Camera, which is available to folks who are Patreon members. And let me see. We'll get through a couple of these commercials, and then we'll get on with it. If you'd like to pick up some swag, go on over to the Teespring store and get some coffee mugs and T-shirts and tank tops and all kinds of good stuff. That helps the channel. It actually helps a lot. And also another way that you can help the channel, apart from watching the videos subscribing and hitting that bell, which is greatly appreciated. But another way you can help that is very appreciated is when you shop on Amazon, use this link, and that'll get you to Amazon. Now, you don't have to buy anything at my store to help the channel. I have a bunch of products at my Amazon store, but if you just use that link when you go to Amazon and then do your normal Amazon shopping, what will happen is anything you buy, we'll give a small credit to the store. I mean, we'll give a small credit to the channel. It's small, and it doesn't change your price. Your price stays the same on the goods that you buy. But if you use that to access Amazon, use that link, and then go off and do your normal shopping, the channel does get a small credit, and it adds up. It adds up over time, and then lets me go out and acquire something that I can then talk with you about. So it does help kind of keep the wheels turning. So there you have it. We will be commercial free from this point forward. All right. I see more people are jumping on, and that's good. Fish, is that Fish Eye View Cam or Fish One View Cam? I'm just intrigued by these YouTube names. Kent, AJ, DK. Good to have you here, my friend. Glad to see you back. So, the first thing I want to talk about with regards to things I've changed my mind over, and just based on what we just talked about, you probably already have a clue. I started off wanting researching and wanting the absolute best media that money could buy, and it over the last several years I've actually changed in that area. I don't consider the extremely high-end media as something as desirable as I did when I first got into fish keeping. Now, this is not a knock on anyone out there who has $300 in media in their filter or their sump or wherever, right? It's just over time and gaining more and more of an appreciation and understanding of beneficial bacteria and mechanical and chemical filtration, it became less and less important to me to have high-end media, whether it's glass, ceramic, plastic, anything out there that you find that's very expensive. And it was kind of a slow evolution. And for those of you who've been following the channel for a long time, you remember I used to have like plastic bio balls, and then I ended up with these bio balls that had a piece of sponge inside of them. Do you remember that? God, what was the name of those things? They were black plastic bio balls, and they had sponges inside of them. I thought they were brilliant. I bought a whole bunch of it. I left it all behind in California. I included it in the tanks that I sold, but I thought that was a perfect melding of media, because you had the plastic kind of moving things around and kind of knocking off the weaker bacteria and allowing new bacteria to constantly form up. And so you kind of had like the benefits of a moving bed, but at the same time, the surface area of a sponge. Then after that, I sort of shifted more into, I think I can get, with good water movement, I can get a comparable result with just with just sponges. And I came across the quality sponges that are produced by Swiss Tropicals. Swiss Tropicals is not a sponsor of this channel. They don't give me anything. I've spent a lot of money with those guys. But those matin sponges with the very high quality, just the very high quality sponges, things will last you forever. So I started going to all sponge. You remember, you've seen that DIY. One of the best performing videos I've ever had is that DIY sump video, where it's just all sponges in the sump, and that is the core of the sumps under the 210 and the 300. It's just a wall of a 4-inch wide, 14-inch tall, like 15-inch, side to side sponges, going from I think they go from like between 10 and 30 ppi, so that it's all just a wall of sponges. So in the hang-on back filters, you can buy pond sponges that have egg crate sponges. Egg crate, because the egg crate gives you more surface area, right? So it have the raised and lowered areas on those sponges. You've seen them. And so you cut those to shape, you put them inside your hang-on back filters, and you don't have to be buying the inserts all the time, right? So I just sort of became kind of a sponge guy. And that's what I am now. I just, now when I say I'm a sponge guy, people think of big box, sponges, like the big aquarium co-op sponges. I don't use those except in the smaller aquariums. When I say I'm a sponge guy, I mean I use sponges inside of canisters, sumps, and hang-on backs. And all you have to do is look at the fish, and you know that it works. I mean, it's working. If it wasn't working, you'd know. Now, full disclosure, my prior channel sponsor, Cichlid Shack over in Arizona, in Tempe, Arizona, sent me a big tub of Chem Matrix. And Sarah sent me, 2 big boxes of Saporax, right? So I do have some of that in the sumps as well. And, just so I'm not going to lie to you and say those are all sponges, because they're not. I did have that media. I said, well, I have it. I either can give it away or use it. So I'm using it. And one thing is certain, it's not hurting. It's definitely not hurting. Do I think the sponges, the filters would be okay without it? Yeah, I think so. I think they'd still do a great, the filters would still do a great job, even if I pulled that media out. But since I had it, I'm using it. So there. Now, where else have I changed? I've become, through some hard lessons, and you know these lessons. You've probably had some of them too. But I've become very conservative in how much I do at one time in any aquarium. I don't do water changes and service filters at the same time. I don't do that. If I service one of the hang-on backs or a sump, there's no water change that week. I'm just very conservative, and even though, and this is another area I've changed, I consider my substrate and my decor as the primary home of beneficial bacteria. I run deeper than most substrate, and if you look here to the left here and see I'll turn the camera and show you. Look at the level of substrate, and it gets deeper as you go towards the back, and there's 1 inch below the lip or the frame of the stand that you can't see. So I'm running a very deep substrate there. And that substrate is occasionally vacuumed, because you almost have to with the bigger pieces of substrate, which is why I like sand more, because you could just kind of run a power head and it'll lift up the detritus and move it towards the filters. But that is the sort of biological home of the aquarium. And I mess with it more than I'd like to, only because of the big pieces holding on to waste, as opposed to a substrate like I have in the tank behind me, which is smaller pieces, and as a result, the detritus sits on top, and the water movement makes it so that I don't even have to vacuum. I really don't even have to vacuum. It just gets picked up and moved towards the filters. By the way, I forgot to ask, how's the audio visual? Are we coming across clearly? Is it sharp and clear? Audio visual good? So at any rate, instead of expensive media, I've moved in the direction of sponges, and I've moved in the direction of a deeper substrate serving as the core of my of my beneficial bacteria home is the substrate, and I try not to mess too much with the substrate. I leave that alone. So those are some areas where I've changed a bit. I've also certainly changed in the area. I've become whereas the sponge side of it could probably save you money when you consider the cost of high-end media. In another area, food, I've gradually reached the opinion or gotten to a point where food is an area where in the past it might have been, well, food is food, try this, try that. Now I know more about food, and that I've met with the owner of Piscine Energetics, the reps from Sarah, the owner of Northfin, and I've talked about how food is produced and how the common brands and the less expensive foods are produced, and I've learned about fillers and dyes and like the ingredients, right? The real ingredients versus how they dry it out and things of that nature. I've reached a point where one, I don't cut any corners on food. I that's an area where I don't mind spending money. And two, also I mix food because I've come to the conclusion that no food company has the perfect formula for my combination of fish. They didn't do their research with my aquarium, my water conditions, my fish combinations, my filtration. So I cover all the bases. I fill the gaps by providing a combination of food, and that food can have high fat, high protein, vegetable content, and it's all mixed together. That way, like in the tank behind me, I know that my Protomelis, who needs more vegetable matter, is going to do okay, because there is vegetables mixed in as opposed to a straight protein diet, right? And also thank you, Homer, for that on the and Adam and Cat Sailor on the AV check. Thank you for that. So there you go on another area where I've changed a bit over time, and I've sort of evolved, and nothing that I say here is gospel or something that you need to change what you're doing. I've also arrived at a belief that if what you're doing is working for you and you have healthy, colorful, vibrant fish, keep doing what you're doing. And if that includes expensive media, inexpensive media, if that includes feeding the highest quality food or a more common commercially produced food, and it's working, your fish look great, your water quality is great, color's good, activity's good, they're breeding, carry on, because again, there's so many moving parts that, like I was said earlier, I get real reluctant to change anything in a setup where things are working. And that even means maintenance. For me, changing maintenance, changing diet, changing components in my, what I've got in the filters, changing anything when the fish look good and are acting right. It's almost one of those, don't mess with success, right? Or like that T-shirt I have at the Teespring store, right? For success, I think it says for success, mess less. So, and when I first started my YouTube channel, partly because I was finding out about a lot of different products, but also because you wanted to create changes in the fish room for content purposes, and I was always like changing this and changing that, and to create content, you end up creating a very unstable situation for the fish, and so that's kind of behind me now, and you see it now. You see it now on YouTube. A lot of great YouTubers out there. I like them, but there's a compulsive, asserted, constant, big change every week. There's, okay, we're putting in this tank, we're taking out that tank, we sold off these fish, we took all the plants out of this and putting all the plants in that, and it's just and it's basically like TV program production. And so we got to constantly have new content and create excitement. I get it. And it creates views. It creates intriguing, interesting thumbnails and topics. But I'm really enjoying a stable, a somewhat relatively. I still do changes in here, that, but I'm enjoying the stability of watching fish thrive in the same tank over a period of time. And that being said, I do have some changes on the table that I'm going to talk about in my 2024 objectives video, including the converting of this 90-gallon, which is a rock-solid stable tank, but it's going to be converted eventually into a discus tank. So that's going to create some big changes for those fish, moving into new setups. So we'll see where that goes. But that's a targeted plan that is going to be really drawn out and thought out long before I remove one single or add one piece of decor, right? Because that plant that tank has to become planted, and I'm going to put a lot of plants. I'm going to maybe even add a small sump. There's going to be a lot of things that go on with that 90 gallons so that it provides an extremely pristine situation for discus fish. All right, so I think that I don't know. In watching my channel, have I changed in some other way? I don't know. Maybe I have. In some of my opinions, some of the things I do, I've used more. I've started in the area of treatment. For example, if something shows up in my fish room, like a possible disease that might show up during quarantine, my first line of defense now is salt. I use some of that Fritz A1 aquarium salt. That's my first line of attack, and as opposed to just getting directly into meds. Even though I do keep, and I do recommend you keep meds on hand. What else? I don't know. You tell me. Let's go ahead and open this up to discussion, and you can ask me anything you like about the fish room and fish. And did I give a shout out to my wonderful moderators? I think I did. GP and Whip and Jerry and I think Denny. Is Denny in the house? I think so. And I've just got some great moderators. And I see the moderators are carrying on a great conversation here. So if you have any questions, go ahead and go ahead and throw them at me. And yes, there has been a shift in what I do and what I keep. That's occurred since I landed in Nashville, right? I went from being exclusively African cichlids, and it might have cost me a few subscribers who really were following me because I was exclusively African cichlids. But now, of course, the fish room has diversity from pleco grow out tanks to South and Central Americans and planted communities and things of that nature. So yeah, I've certainly changed in what I keep. That's for sure. Now, if you do have a question for me, start your question with ben.o.cichlid or at ben.o.cichlid. Like you see Jerry's comment on there. Start it that way, and that way it jumps out at me in the chat, and I'll be more likely to see it. Jerry, I honestly, I don't remember the details of the filtration on your 180. Go ahead and tell me again. But I don't. What I would try first, if you're looking for water clarity, before I would swap out media, I would probably try just running a couple bags of Purigen. Drop a couple bags of Purigen in your filter and just see how that works for about a month. And if it works, leave it in there. I mean, if it makes no difference, I mean, you can leave it in or take it out. But you pull Purigen out once it turns brown, and then you can recharge it following the instructions on the bag, or you can toss it, your preference. But I would drop a little Purigen in there, Jerry, and see what it does. It's been my experience that it'll make an aquarium crystal clear. Now, the other option you have, now it's a 180, is pretty big, but another option you have is you should consider UV light. Not the UV that's in canisters, because I think that's not going to give you that much water clarity, not much of anything, because the water is flying by the UV light very, very quickly. So you can go with like an expensive UV twist, or get one of those green killing machines, the 24-watt model, and throw two of them into that 180, and hide them behind some decor, and you'll be shocked, and you'll get the advantage both of water clarity, but you'll also get water quality. Crystal clear water isn't always healthy water. Crystal clear water can have ammonia in it, so it's not an indicator of healthy water. So you will get a healthier, pathogen-free, bacterial-free, more virus-free. It's the UV light will give you a healthier water. And I guess that's one area where I forgot to mention. But I've also changed a lot. If you see some of my earlier videos, going back 5 years, you'll see a lot of content about nitrate reduction. And I sort of lost my my urgency or lost my franticness about nitrates. I started taking a deeper dive into the world of nitrates, and I just found it to be not as deadly as some of the manufacturers of products would like us to believe. Unfortunately, no matter where you look, product sales, insurance sales, automotive sales, politics, a lot of folks are trying to control your actions with fear. And I think there's been a little bit of a campaign about how all your fish are going to die if your nitrates get above 10 parts per million. And it turns out that it's just a bunch of BS. Your fish actually can do okay in much higher nitrates. Now, whether you want those nitrates or not, that's your call. But one area that I've changed is if I can keep the tank behind me around 40, but if it gets closer to 80 parts per million, I don't panic. I just don't panic. Now, that being said, I do recommend that you test your tap, because if you're adding bad stuff to your aquarium with water changes, that's a whole other topic. So test your tap water right from the tap. But when it comes to the aquarium, if I'm somewhere between 20 and 40 and a few days before water change, I'm flirting with 80, I'm not worried. I am not worried. All that being said, with the adding of the algae scrubber, this one runs below 40. And I give it a water change every 2 weeks, a top off every other week. I do the same with the 210 gallon, but that top off is now automatic with that automatic top off that I put in the sump. And that's removed one task from my weekly routine, which I'm enjoying. I'm enjoying the extra time. Yeah, Jerry, I found that Purigen can really help. It can clear, for me, it's cleared things up. You would need 2 bags in that 180, but I would suggest trying that. I mean, you have other products out there, ChemiPure. There's the Boyd Industry product. There's other products out there. Another thing you can do is feed a little less. I mean, people ask me for tips on water clarity. Certainly ChemiPure and Purigen, but also something as simple as feed just a little bit less and see how your fish do. If their tummies stay nice and round, you're okay. All right, let's see here. Lady T throws the words filter floss into the discussion. Filter floss is awesome. I stopped using it in canisters because it's so awesome that my canister would be blocked after a couple weeks. So I stopped using whether it's pinky floss or crib batting or anything like that. I stopped using it in canisters. But to clear up an aquarium, like the question that Jerry asked, yes, a little bit of crib batting, non-treated, non-toxic. You don't want to get the flame retardant because they treat it with a chemical, but just plain old filter floss that you can pick up like from Walmart, like a 20-pound bag for $5, and it'll work. Filter floss will polish that water. And yes, GP, you need very good water flow. You got to run that water through mechanical filtration, sponges, filter floss, whatever that might be. With the ChemiPure and the Purigen, using these resin-based filter products, you're getting into a little bit of what they would call chemical filtration. What hang-on filter would you suggest for a 72-gallon bow? I broke up with my girlfriend, so got some extra money. Oh, that's a little extra detail there, but okay. Okay, so I'm glad you have extra money. And there's a lot of good ones out there. I mean, I've been using Marine Pure Emperor hang-on backs. The Emperor 400 series is a beast. It would do a fine job on a 75. I'd run 2 of them on a 75. But, you also have the one that is the motor, the pump is made by Cichlids, and it's sold by, I think it's sold by Seachem. Does Seachem have a hang-on back with anyway, there's one that's called, I think it's called the 110. But yeah, there's some great hang-on backs out there. The one with the Cichlids, I really believe in these Cichlids pumps. I mean, the pumps I have under my bigger tanks in the sumps, you can't even hear them. They're totally quiet, and they've just been running for years, and they're amazing. So you can't go wrong with one of those. Get one that gives you a lot of room for media, and then go ahead and sort of pimp your hob, pimp your hang-on back. Pimp your hob, and the name of my next video, Pimp Your Hob, and put filter and media, whatever you want to put in it, that fits your temperament that you want, right? The only thing I'd recommend is if you're going to use different kinds of sponges, go from a coarse sponge to catch the bigger pieces, and then work your way into a finer polishing sponge. And let's say that the water tumbles in and then gets pulled from the bottom up towards the overflow back to the tank. Just have your more coarse sponge than a medium sponge than a fine sponge, and you'll have a very, 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 very workable hang-on back. But I like the Marine Pure because I buy those small little cages, right? Those canisters, and I buy those plastic ones, and I just put a piece of cut to fit sponge in there. You can also buy some of that Aquarium Co-op filtering. They have that white filter that you can buy that is stiff, so you can cut it to fit whatever frame you're using in your canister. But I think Seachem is a good one. I've heard some good things about I think Oasis has a hang-on back that's decent. So anyway, chime in, guys. Chime in and share your thoughts on hang-on back. The only one I wouldn't say to use, not because it's bad, it's a monster of a hang-on back, produces a lot of water movement, but the so-called whisper hang-on backs, for me, they were very noisy. Just the way they're positioned on the frame, even with a raised water level, they create a lot of splash noise. And I happened to be using one in a TV room back in California. It was too loud. I had to stop using it. So the whisper, it should be called the shout, not the whisper. And yes, GP, the use of power heads and wave makers and positioning them in the aquarium so that they will vacuum, will sort of sweep the bottom of the aquarium and move detritus towards the intakes of your filters. That's very, very, especially in your larger tanks, and especially if you have a sand substrate. You got to position it just right so that it doesn't create a massive pit, right? If you point it too too downward, it's gonna create a bald spot right in the substrate. But you position it slightly lower than level, and it'll create movement that will lift up the detritus and suck it into the allow it to be sucked into the filters. And I run those on a timer so that the fish aren't being pushed around 24/7, and it turns off at night. So from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., it's not running. So the fish can kind of chill out and kind of relax at night, and get their REM sleep. Do fish get REM sleep? I don't know. That's rapid eye movement sleep. It's the deepest sleep that you can get. All right, let's see here. Whips World, if I put any more flow in my 210, it's going to look like a washing machine. Well, as long as you don't have discus and angels and fish that don't like being blown around, you're probably okay. And I think there's some fish, like your hill stream fish, there are certain fish that love that strong flow. And when I used to have clown loaches, which I love, I used to have clown loaches, and they would love playing right in the stream and the output of the filter, or you're filling the tank up with a hose. They would get right up near the opening of the hose and play in the stream. They just loved it. David Glass, I don't have a wave maker on my 60-gallon African cichlid tank. Is it wise to get a wave maker? Well, there's a video, maybe one of the moderators can share this video, but there's a video on my thoughts on wave makers and power heads. And let me go ahead and since we're answering these questions, so we first have to look at what's the problem or what's the purpose or the thought behind why you want a wave maker or a power head. Now, if you want it for sweeping purposes to help clean the substrate, then you're going to position it about midway down in a corner, and you're going to have it pointed out. If it's a big tank, you might have two, one in each corner, creating sort of a confluence, right, where the water comes together, and you're going to be stirring up waste, right? In the tank behind me, I have one in the back corner pointing towards a dead spot. Everybody has spots in their aquarium that where you go to vacuum, and you notice there's just a mountain of poop and detritus. Well, what's happening is that's a dead spot. It's obviously that's where things settle. So drop that wave maker in there and point it so that it blows out that dead spot. So you can use it for that purpose. You can use it for breaking up surface tension for water movement to add more oxygen to the tank. So maybe you're using filtration that doesn't break up the surface much, and you want to create more oxygen. Yeah, point it, put it like a few inches from the surface, point it slightly upward, and you'll get a lot of water movement, a lot of surface tension breakup, and you'll add more oxygen. That kind of wave maker I run 24/7. The wave maker intended to vacuum, I run on a timer for about 6 to 8 hours at a time, and then it shuts off for several hours and then runs again and is off overnight so the fish can sleep. But I think 60 gallon on up wouldn't be a bad idea. There's other reasons too. You get water movement, helps create an equal and even temperature. So you don't have maybe a little colder zone or a warmer. So you have a real, like a even temperature throughout the aquarium. Also, it helps with it helps in, like I said, with filtration. It can help with oxygenation. Like let's say a lot of oxygen is occurring where the hang on back is dumping into the aquarium, but then that wave maker is getting that well oxygenated water to be throughout the entire aquarium. So there's lots of reasons to use a wave maker. As the tank gets smaller, of course, it becomes overkill, and you don't want a lot of movement in a smaller tank. You're welcome, Jerry. You know, Badger, there's people on the stream right now, and people that might read that comment later, and they're gonna scream. So there are some stingray enthusiasts out there who absolutely, pound their fist on the table, say that you've got to maintain those nitrates near zero. But there you go. Nitrates at 90 parts per million with a stingray, and it's a healthy, vibrant stingray. So there you go. Now, to add a little bit to what you just said, Whip, on that is, and this is sort of an added kind of an addition to your comment. The other thing that I've noticed, and I can't tell you definitively because I didn't do a scientific study on it. I mean, I didn't run a lot of video and then compare the video before and after, but having that strong water movement is sometimes such a distraction that it can impact aggression. And I've heard from numerous people over the years who said when I put a power head or a wave maker that was creating a strong current, I noticed that the fish stopped going after each other and became more concerned with like holding their position in the tank and not getting blown around or swimming into the current. Or so I don't know, maybe there's something to that. So another side benefit that you might get. Adam Frankel says that filter floss will polish. I believe you're right. And Lady T uses it in her HOB, and that would be the best place, only because it's the easiest to work with in the swapping out of filter media, right? That's the one thing I love about hang-on backs is you could just, I mean, it takes minutes to service them. And you can do a deeper servicing, right? You can take it off and you can clean up the impeller and disassemble, right, the pump and clean the impeller and reassemble it and clean the inside of the uptake, of the input tubing. And yeah, you can get a little more detail. But the truth is, for 11.9 months of the year, all you're going to be doing is reaching in, pulling out, rinsing, and putting back and firing it back up. That's all. So hang-on backs are right at shoulder level. It's really easy. No bending over, no picking up anything heavy like a 200-pound FX6. I knew somebody was going to comment about that breakup comment. So there you go. Jerry says a Tidal 75. Tidal 75. I have 3 and love them. Now, Jerry, is that the one where is Tidal the one that CChem that she say makes the pump, or is that a different one? Is that the Tidal? I'm not sure. I remember seeing it at Aquashella and being a little bit surprised that CChem was the maker of the motor. Whip votes for Tidal. 110, 70, and 50. Yep. A lot of votes for Tidal. A vote for Aqua Clear. Jerry says, pimp your hob. Now, go ahead and you can use that title, Jerry, if you want to do a video. I won't charge you a royalty. Pimp your hob. Oh, jeez. There you go. Thank you, Whip. My Powerhead video link is now available. Jerry, I have one wave maker in the tank behind me. It's pretty strong. I think it's close to 2,000 gallons per hour. And let me see if I got it up there. It's a pretty. I'm trying to look for the box, but it's a pretty good one. There are some very good quality ones out there, and it's pointed at a dead spot. The base of the planets here, the base of the planets, the base of the plants right here is a bit of a dead spot, and so it's pointed right there, so that it blows all that waste up. Otherwise, I don't really need because I've got an FX6 pumping into the aquarium, and I've got the two outputs from the Cichlids 5.0, the synchro pumps, and so I've got a lot of water. There's a lot of water movement back here, a tremendous amount of water movement. Okay, Kent, sorry you have to go, and I'm glad you enjoyed the topic. William Dyer, I have two wave makers. The main tank, one across the top and another opposite and across the bottom. That I think that's great placement. That's great placement. You're going to create like a circular water movement, and it's going to be great for equally dispersing temperature, oxygen. It's going to help with cleaning, keeping the substrate clean. I think that's a good placement. All right, any more questions for me? Go ahead and hit me now, because we have run over. It is 12 o'clock Central Daylight Time. Thank you to everybody who's hung in there with me for an hour. And if you have a question, go ahead and ask me now, and let's go ahead and I am looking at the chat. Title is the Cichlids motor. Thank you, Jerry. Yeah, that to me is a huge plus point, that they would outsource to Cichlids. That to me is a big plus point, that they would reach out and use Cichlids for their pumps. That tells me there's a commitment to quality there, and I like that. There you go, Jerry. Do the video. I'm currently trying out the Higer HG099-L. So far, I love it. Taberk Aquatics, I didn't know that Higer did that. I didn't know that Higer had a hang-on back. I'm going to have to contact them, because they're, Higer and I have a kind of a relationship. And I want to try one of their auto top-offs for this tank. I don't want to use the manual float auto top off like I have in the 210. I want to put one of my unused 29 gallons tanks behind the 300, and then have a pump that activates when the water level in the sump gets to a certain level. And Hygger makes one that is that has an optic reader, right? So it reads kind of like a line, like a garage safety light, right? Like a garage door that if you break the safety light at the bottom, it opens up again so somebody doesn't get crushed. So it has an optic reader, and when the optic reader detects that the water level has dropped, it fires up the pump in the tank in your auto top off tank. So I'm going to contact Hygger about that, and maybe I'll talk to him about a hang-on back and do some equipment reviews. I haven't done anything for Hygger for a while. I've usually in the past have liked their products. They also have a higher end line called Aqua, AQQA. That's their higher end line. It's still Hygger, but I think I'd like to check that out. I didn't know they had that. Good luck, Ben. Good luck with that bow. Good luck with that bow, Ben. DV, hi Ben, I have my wave maker placed on the same side as my canister filter intake. Is that the best location? I don't think it's going to hurt, but I would usually suggest you go on the opposite side because you want to move things towards the intake, not away from the intake. So, but in the total scheme of things, I don't think it's going to hurt the situation. But if it's the only wave maker you have in there, consider repositioning it. Keeping in mind, like I said earlier, if things are looking good, the water quality is crystal clear, the fish are healthy, go slow. For success, mess less. Whip, my tanks are drilled, and there are some good quality overflow boxes that you can use out there. I think ISOP, I think I have one up here somewhere. The PF 800 from ISOP. There are some good overflow boxes out there that you can use. You've got to you really set them up right with the siphon, but to make sure you don't overflow your sump. But my tanks are drilled, and I just find that very, very easy. Kenneth D, same to you, and thank you for stopping by. Whip Squirrel, the intake and is right near the top, not right near the middle. I mean, I have a big sponge filter over it, right? I have a pre-filter on the intake, and it's right around the middle, the exact middle rear of the aquarium, and the output is near the surface, so it breaks up the surface a little bit, and just above it to the left, about 5 or 6 inches. So. You would call that sort of a middle placement on the FX6, keeping in mind that I've got two outputs in each corner from the sump returns. So there's water being pushed into the aquarium from the corners and the middle. So there's just, again, like I said, there's a lot of water movement, which is why I rarely, I think in a year, I'll vacuum twice. The aquarium, this 300, gets vacuumed maybe twice. I will sometimes rake the substrate just to turn it over a little bit so it looks fresher, but I don't vacuum necessarily. All right, my friends. Well, wherever you are, I hope you stay cool this weekend. We got record temperatures all around, and And it is hot. It is definitely summer. So stay cool, stay hydrated. And I really thank all of you for sitting in. Watch for the video that'll be posting today at, I think within the next hour or two, the second installment in my 2024 update, where I'm going to be talking about equipment additions to the fish room. So watch for that. And you rock, my friends. I thank you all for being here. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Same time, same station. And thank you, everybody. You're the best.